Ingrid.
Hi.
We have a question from the nurses. Now that the charge nurses have a load of patients more often, what are we doing to support staff and keep our patients safe? They were wondering about the teletext specifically.
Sure. I'm definitely not an expert on the teletext because that definitely was from before me. But what I understand is that in the past it's been evaluated and they were not found to be effective. So even if all the resources existed in the world, our plan would probably not be to bring those back. But what I can talk about are other resources and support and projects that we are working on to help support folks and make sure they have what they need. Because it is, harder to get things done. And I'm hearing that, like, for instance, when the charges are in production, that it's harder to get patients out and length of stay becomes challenging. So I think that we have seen the mobility tech at St. Luke's South have a really positive impact on length of stay and in reducing post-acute admissions, and we are piloting that here, and I think that it has been really well received, and that is a resource that we hope to spread and something that would have a big impact.
What is the mobility tech?
Oh, sure. So the mobility tech is a pilot that's on PCU, and it is a person who is in the rehab department whose entire goal is to help support and moving patients around, because we know that people's outcomes are better when they move. Yeah. In addition to that, there's, we have our night resource nurse positions that are posted. I think that's going to be the thing that's going to be really helpful at night, particularly for our new grads. And there are 3 of those positions. I know that perhaps the way it's posted, some people might be like, oh, those aren't the right hours or the right days or whatever. If you're even interested, please apply. We're looking for the right people. This is not a position that'll be pulled into staffing. It is a protected position that's really aimed at supporting our new grads. There's information out there. Talk to your managers, and if you're interested, please apply, because that would be a great resource for night times. Again, we're continuing to monitor data in a variety of different ways. I will tell you that personally, the things that I have heard while rounding that I have either escalated or am taking on as a project, because it feels like something that would be impactful for our teams, either from a safety or a quality or even just a patient experience standpoint. Because that's actually one of the things that I've heard a little bit more than safety, is that people say, like, the things that they used to do that were really customized to a patient are the things that they struggle with having the time to do with now, and that's the thing that's most upsetting to them. So for example, I remember I was rounding on a unit and it was alarming all the time, and I was asking, what we were doing about it, and the nurses in the charge were appropriately making adjustments and trying different troubleshooting that is from the approved packet of things to try, but it was still problematic. And so the question is, are the alarms set at the right level to alarm for various things across our system? So I took that to Susie, and she said that she is working to put back together the system alarm committee to reevaluate that. I think we have an opportunity to look at call light routing for the similar reasons. If charges are in production, perhaps they're not the right person for things to go to. So what could we do different? I think also thinking about, I've heard feedback about sort of transfers at shift change, and sort of asking, previously we had this protected time. Is that something that could come back? And I would not promise by any means that would come back, but what I'd like to do is set a target of how can we have safe transfers at shift change. And so I brought that to PQE, and I asked your representatives that are there and any of you that want to participate to join and help give feedback on how we can ensure that we have safe transfers at shift change. This would involve looking at data and saying, what are the things that are most at risk and how can we overcome that? Also looking at sort of patient expectations. So that was another one that I heard when I was rounding, is that people seem to feel that patients may not have an expectation for what happens inpatient that matches reality. And so figuring out exactly what those items are that are most often to cause dissatisfaction or a disconnect in reality and expectations, and then finding a way that we can either have a flyer or a way to share information with the patient in a more standard way. There are some autonomy videos that are going to be piloted, which will be about patient expectations, but not everyone will have that. And so the question is if perhaps having some talking points or a flyer might make a difference in setting that expectation. So I think anytime that we make a change, we have, as I mentioned before, opportunities to optimize. And I think that, staffing and resources often take time to implement, but there are several processes that we can probably implement sooner. And that's the sort of thing that I think that, bring to your managers. You can get involved, bring it to me, and we can figure out how to make it safe.